ओम ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनाशलाखाय चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरून् श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितां च नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभैव च पतितानं पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। So, dear devotees, I welcome you all for this session, the sixth session for this Bhagavad Gita series. I'll just share the screen with you all to be recited. Everybody is able to see the screen? Yeah. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Asochayan Anvasocastvam. So I have muted everybody, but you all can recite at your own pace, at your own convenience. I'll be giving a halt after every line. Okay. Asochayan vasochasva prajnanvadamscha bhasashe gatasum agatasumscha nanu sochanti pandita. Translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, while speaking learned words, you are mourning for what is not worthy of grief. Those who are wise lament neither for the living nor for the dead. So, if you see in this particular series, what we have learned, okay, from shloka number 1 to shloka number 10. I completed shloka number 10. So, in that, from, if you see just a small synopsis, that okay, by calling Krishna Madhusudana, Sanjay is informing Dhritarashtra that Arjuna's doubts will now be killed by the killer of the demon Madhu. And Dhritarashtra was happy to hear of Arjuna's mood of renunciation. So now these sons, because now why is he happy? So that his sons could be victorious. And Sanjay's words, however, will, dispel Dhritarashtra's happiness. And Krishna immediately, decries Arjuna's decision with the word Kaibalyam, importance. So Kshatriyas are by nature very proud, and by accusing Arjuna of impotence and weakness, Krishna actually slaps Arjuna. Simultaneously, Krishna reminds Arjuna of his great heritage by calling him as Partha. So Arjuna is the son of Lord Indra, who is a great warrior, and the king of the heavenly planets also. So Krishna wants to know how someone who is of a high birth could act like a Kshatra Bandhu. So simply a member of a Kshatriya family, then an actual Kshatriya. So Prabhupada says that if the son of a Kshatriya declines to fight, he's just a Kshatriya in name only. Okay, if the son of a Brahmana does not give wisdom to the society, because the Brahmanas are supposed to give wisdom to the society. If they are not able to give wisdom to the society, then that person is a Brahmana in name only. So Krishna has not accepted Arjuna's various arguments that he has put forth, because he's, he's saying that Shudram, this is, low class, and this is petty. So Krishna directs his insult to Arjuna to challenge him, and stir his Kshatriya blood. So now Arjuna wants to know that whether his decision not to fight is due to strong-heartedness, not weak-heartedness. But Srila Prabhupada mentions that sometimes even a verbal argument to one's superiors actually transgresses Vedic etiquette. So he's putting forward that what to speak of fighting and killing the superiors like Bhishma and Drona. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is addressing Krishna as Madhusudana and Harisudana. So Arjuna calls attention to this particular fact that Krishna is the killer of his enemies, and not of his gurus and father. So Krishna did not kill his father, grandfather, or his guru. And Arjuna would prefer to offer, flowers at the lotus feet of Bhishma and Drona, and he would not prefer to, shoot arrows at them. So then how could Arjuna maintain himself if he was supposed to give up his duty as a warrior? Kshatriya is supposed to fight, but he's not fighting. Then how will he maintain himself? So again, Krishna, again, the Kshatriyas, they do not beg, they only rule. That is their duty. So without a kingdom, Arjuna would not have anything to rule. So, and Arjuna was well aware of that he's not going to, get the kingdom. And how is he going to rule then? But Arjuna prefers the embarrassment of begging, rather than having any, making any sinful reactions for whatever, he will be harming to his superiors or his worshipable superiors. So, he's saying that life would be difficult at the moment, but at least in the future, his life would be, not stained by the sin of killing his guru. So, Arjuna is strongly justifying his position, and he continues in the next verse also to give his, last and final reasoning not to fight. So Arjuna has based his reasons to fight on compassion, logic, shastra, but yet the result of this reasoning was just confusion, and he was in utter confusion. So now, therefore, Arjuna, to remove his confusion, then what does he do? He surrenders to his spiritual master, his guru, Sri Krishna. And because Arjuna surrenders to Krishna in text 7, we naturally expect that, okay, Krishna will begin, his instructions from text 8, but he does not. He has not yet accepted Arjuna as a student. So when Arjuna says that I am perplexed, I am confused, I surrender unto you. So Krishna gives a reply that, okay, you know Shastras, but why don't you use your own logic and reasoning? And Krishna replies that, okay, I am your friend. I am not in the mood of being a guru. So how can I accept you as my disciple? So because you have respectful attitude towards Vyasdev, why don't you go and take, instructions from them, or salah from them? So Baldev Vidyabhushan, in one of his commentaries, he is saying that Arjuna is addressing Krishna as Rishikesha. He is the master of the senses. And because Krishna is the master of senses, he will be able to draw Arjuna's intelligence into the involvement with the fighting. And because Krishna is the knower of the Vedas, then he will make Arjuna understand that this fight is for his personal dharma. So Prabhupada also explains the word parantapa. Why parantapa? Because Dhritarashtra must have been very glad to understand that Arjuna is not going to fight, and he's going to leave the battle, and he has chosen to, beg as his profession. But Sanjay, he again disappointed him again, and saying that Arjuna was competent to kill the enemies. Parantapa. So Arjuna, for the time being, was overwhelmed, with mithya, or you can say false grief, and because of overly family affection. So now he surrenders to Krishna as a disciple, and he surrenders to Krishna, who is the supreme spiritual master of all the living entities. And prasan, in the 10th shloka, there is a word called prasan. So Krishna is smiling. Prabhupada is saying that Krishna is smiling because his friend has become a disciple now. So Krishna's smile actually changes to a very grave expression, and he will now act as Arjuna's spiritual master. So see, if you see, when you read the Bhagavad Gita in a very plain manner, you will not understand that, okay, Krishna was smiling. When you read the Bhagavad Gita, we just take it as a blank, reading statements. But now you have commentaries from acharyas like Baldev Vidyabhushan, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. You have commentaries from Srila Prabhupada. Now, these acharyas, they are why they are able to say, or even the minute details of what has happened on the battlefield, because they are deeply connected with Krishna. Day in and day out, they are only thinking about Krishna. And that is why even those subtleties of what is happening on the battlefield, or what was happening on the battlefield, only the acharyas will be able to say. No other mundane person will be able to say, or because they have eyes ointed with the love of God, and that is why they'll be able to say. Otherwise, how is it possible that, okay, Krishna was smiling that his friend has become a disciple? How are we to know we're sitting over here? So the acharyas are really helping us to understand the deeper meanings of Bhagavad Gita. So now, now Krishna will act as Arjuna's spiritual master, and the talks between, the spiritual master and disciple are always serious. They are not joking, because when you have joking things with friends, then okay, the friend does not take you seriously. But when you are speaking to your spiritual master, then you're very serious and you're very grave and you're very attentive to every word, whatever your spiritual master is speaking. So now there is a very similar relation between Krishna and Arjuna, that of Guru and disciple. So now working towards this particular thing, that now Krishna will start giving instructions. But before that, a series of things Arjuna is giving as, because now from section 11 to section 13, this is like, Krishna is going to give full knowledge, Gyan, that, okay, Arjuna, fight. Why? Because there is no death for the soul. The body can never be saved. And where Krishna is refuting Arjuna's first argument, that he had compassion for all his relatives. So if you see in text number 1.28, 29 and 30, there he is actually expressing compassion. So that shloka's argument Krishna is going to refute over here. And so Krishna is going to mention that, okay, the spirit soul is eternal, the soul is indestructible, and this material nature is also temporary. And because it is temporary, a particular person should not be very bewildered by this inevitable destruction of the material body. So rather than that, a particular person should remain fixed in his prescribed duties. And remaining fixed in his prescribed duties, it will purify that particular person and allow him to realize his eternal self. So from text 11 onwards, there is a slight conversation, and uh, mm, text 11 primarily will speak about Arjuna chastising, sorry, Krishna chastising Arjuna, because Krishna says that this truly wise people do not make the mistake of the body to be the self. Like, when did I give this analogy? I think I gave the analogy last time only, that you have a person driving the BMW and you have the person driving the rickshaw. So the person who's driving the BMW, he's identifying himself as BMW car. But is he the BMW car? No. Or is he the auto rickshaw? No, he is not the auto rickshaw. So uh, those who are wise will not make the mistake of identifying themselves with the body. So, and the wise will not lament also for the living nor the dead. So, if a particular person has died or a near family member has died, so that particular person knows that, okay, this person is just transmigrated from one body to the other, and he won't lament. Sometimes people go in depression, people go into too much of a trauma state, and they are because they are overly attached with that particular person's body, so then they go into a great trauma stage, and they are not able to digest the death of a near family member. But let us understand that we are not the controllers. Krishna is the controller of all the living entities. We think that if only once, I could speak to that person, or if only once I could just, last few, sentences I could talk with that person. But we should understand that Krishna is the controller, and he knows what is best for that particular living entity. He knows what is best for that particular living entity to go close to Krishna. Whether that living entity is a devotee, non-devotee, into an animal species, bird species, water species, whatever it could be. So that is why Krishna is saying that the wise do not lament on the living or nor the dead. So now the first step that Krishna, so Krishna is very technically going to dismantle Arjuna's misconceptions. So first step, what he's going to do is he's going to dismantle his students' misconception. And to dismantle, sometimes you require strong words. When a particular person is too much attached to another person, or too much attached to a particular animal, then there are strong words required. And to bring him from that hallucination state out, what do? You shake that particular person. So then, because a person is too much in hallucination, or thinking that I'm very attached to this particular person, so then there are strong words required to just shake him up. So in text number 11, if you see, Prabhupada is writing in the purport that who is a learned person. So because Krishna is chastising Arjuna for posing that he is a learned man, but what is the definition of a learned man? So the definition of a learned man in the purport Prabhupada writes is one who knows what is body and soul and does not lament for it at any stage, whether it is living or whether it is dead. So that is the definition of a learned person. And Prabhupada again writes that what is the right knowledge? The definition of knowledge also he gives. So he says that to know matter, soul, and supreme controller of both. So the supreme controller of matter also, soul also, is Krishna. So there are different levels of shastras where Prabhupada is actually giving that there are Jnana Shastras, Artha Shastras, Dharma Shastras. So Jnana Shastra primarily deals with knowledge of body and soul. And then higher than that is Dharma Shastra. Dharma Shastra means in comparison to what Arjuna's recommendation of religious principles are, and Artha Shastra means politics or sociology. So why Krishna called Arjuna foolish? Because the his intelligence is used without just considering the essential nature of the soul, and that's why Krishna is telling you that you're acting like a fool, so if you see, text 11 is like a prelude to text 12, where Krishna will further establish that this spiritual truth, and the bodily conception of life, he will refute this. So there is a nice conversation in one of the commentaries of the acharyas, which there are refutations used by Krishna from text number 12 to text number 13. Now these refutations are used for dispelling Arjuna's material compassion. So where in text 12, Krishna will say that, see, in when he's saying that compassion, I want to have compassion for my relatives, but then he's saying that, oh, individuality is never lost. All the living entities are eternal. They will continue their individuality in future also without any interruption. So why are you lamenting, for the death of your own loved ones or family members? So then Arjuna may just argue on this particular point that, okay, the change of body, but still is a cause of lamentation. So if a near and dear one dies in the family, we definitely lament, right? It's not like that we don't lament. So, but over a period of time, we understand that yes, time heals everything. And over a period of time, what happens is we know that, okay, the body is changing. The soul from one body has transmigrated to another. The supreme Lord or the super soul is also present 24/7, even to such an extent that when the soul comes out of the body, the super soul also is accompanying the soul to transmigrate into another body. And that's how, that is the localized Paramatma form of the Supreme Lord. So uh, Krishna, Arjuna may say that, okay, this is, change of body, still a cause of lamentation. But Krishna says that, see, change of body is very natural because when you were a child and then you went to a young age and then to old age, nobody, laments for such a natural change. Do we lament that, once upon a time I was a very, small, cute child, but, oh, now I'm very old. Do we lament for that? No, we don't lament for, those changing, bodies that are there. So then Arjuna may argue, but we do lament for loss of youth age to old. Sometimes people do lament, oh, once upon a time I was very young and then I'm old now, I've got wrinkles and freckles and my hair is gone white. So Krishna is saying that, see, though from youth to old age they have transmigrated, but Bhishma and Drona will get fresh bodies, which will be like heavenly birth or spiritual bodies. So that is why there is no lamentation. So even from old age, a particular person dies, he'll still get a fresh body, right? When you, for example, what will you choose? Will you choose a fresh rose flower or a dried rose flower? You will always be happy with a fresh red rose flower. So similarly, even with the body, you will be very, happy with a fresh body. uh, Relatives may lament, but at least for that particular person who was in old age, he is getting a new fresh body. Then what is the this of lamenting? Even Yayati traded his old age and he got a fresh youth body, and he was rejoicing. So then Arjuna may think that, okay, but attachment to this, body, or the current body of these relatives, will be still a cause of lamentation on losing them. I'm still very attached to them. So then Krishna says, see, you have no choice, but you have to tolerate those, dualities that are there. And these dualities are not non-permanent, and they are arising only from sense perception. This actually, primarily Krishna speaks in the 14th shloka, where he says, Matra sparshastu kaunteya, shitoshana sukha dukkhada, agami payana nityasya tam tatekshu bharata. He says that you have just to tolerate. You have to tolerate the separation from your relatives. Krishna is asking him to tolerate. He's saying that do not tolerate their mishaps, or that do not tolerate the injustice they have done to you. But then on the battlefield, out of fighting with them, after killing them, then tolerate the separation from them. So then uh, Krishna, in a series of shlokas, is going to establish that soul is eternal, body is temporary, and Kauravas cannot escape death, because if Arjuna did not kill, then definitely they are already killed. We also know that when a particular person comes on his earth, he has his timeline over here. That timeline is finished, that particular person is gone, from one body to another body, like that. So just give me a minute. Then Arjuna may again argue, okay, if I'm doing violence, then I'll have sinful reactions to whatever actions I'm doing. So then Krishna is saying that violence you're doing under my direction, and because you're doing it under my direction, you're not going to incur any sin. Then Arjuna may say that, okay, but Bhishma and Drona, they are also going to lose their present bodies. It is a source of enjoyment for them. But Krishna says that this change of body is like a change of a dress. They will get fresh bodies and they will get happiness. So, for example, when a particular person, he changes dresses, does he lament, oh, I have given up my old dress, I was so attached to my old dress, I gave it to some poor person or somebody? Does somebody lament like that? Or you just put it in the trash? Does somebody lament for old dresses? No. Similarly, Bhishma and Drona have old dresses and they will get fresh bodies. And of course, anybody who gets a fresh clothing or a fresh cloth, he's very happy. So, anyway, Arjuna's weapons cannot kill the soul. So that's why Krishna will say that the soul cannot be cut, burnt, drowned, or, with any weapon. And, one may think that, okay, there is no soul, the body is all in all. But see, even if there is no soul, still there is no cause of lamentation for the loss of, the body. Why? Because this body is a bag of chemicals. So like that, there are many, arguments put by Krishna back and forth, back and forth. And very nicely, Arjuna is explaining, Krishna is explaining Arjuna. We'll just go to the next shloka, the 12th shloka. Sorry, I just took a little longer time. But since, this, I've given just a small synopsis of all the other shlokas that we're going to discuss. Na tvam evaham jatu nasham, na tvam neme. Sorry, I beg apologies. Na tvam evaham jatu nasham. You all can repeat after me. Na tvam neme janadipa, na chaiva na bhavishyamah, sarve vayamata param. Translation: never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. So Krishna is now, advising Arjuna that, see, we all are eternal souls. We all are eternal individual souls. So whatever these souls will have, like, because now Krishna is actually, supporting that we all are eternal individuals, and therefore there is no cause of lamentation for these changing bodies. So he is supporting this verse for eternal individuality, where in the purport Prabhupada is saying over here is that Nityo Nitanam Chitanas Chetananam, that Krishna is the original maintainer of all the innumerable living entities. And how is the Supreme Lord maintaining? Then he is maintaining in terms of, different situations according to a particular person's individual work and the reaction of that work. So he's also maintaining them by his plenary portion, and his plenary portion is the Paramatma, and he's alive in the heart of all the living entities. So the saintly people, they have a vision. So the vision of a saintly person is that who achieve they have a perfect and eternal peace. They can see the Supreme Lord within also and without also, inside also and outside also. Now they can see the Supreme Lord within every living entity, and they can see the Supreme Lord even in matter. So Prabhupada is very strongly refuting Mayavadi theory in this particular purport. That what is the theory of Mayavadis? I'll just tell you. So Mayavadi's theory is that they say that individual soul is separated, or it is broken from that original consciousness, and when it is separated, then it has a covering of Maya or illusion. So Prabhupada is actually refuting this in a way that that we know that the soul is unbreakable, and after the soul, after the liberation, the soul that is there, it is either merges or dissolves homogeneously into the Brahman, and uh, it does not lose its individual existence. So we know that the soul is insoluble and it never dissolves. But the Mayavadis say that after liberation, the soul merges into the Supreme Lord or the Brahman, or it is dissolving homogeneously into the Supreme Brahman. And that is why, because it merges into the Supreme Brahman, it loses individual existence. So that's not, right, because the soul is independent, the soul was independent, soul is independent, and the soul will remain individual or independent. And the soul is, insoluble. Insoluble means what? So, for example, you have water and you take, sugar or salt, and you just mix it. So, what happens? The sugar and water, when they mix, they become soluble. But over here, the soul does not mix into the Supreme Lord's existence. And the soul never dissolves also, like how the sugar dissolves or the salt dissolves. So, there are many other refutations also that Mayavadis may argue that, okay, individuality exists only in the conditioned state. So Krishna clearly states that, okay, individuality of the Lord and living entities are for future also. So that is why the soul cannot be, the soul can be subject to some illusion, but Krishna, who is the super soul of all the living entities, he cannot be subject to any illusion. Then the Mayavadis may argue that, okay, individuality is material and not spiritual, but so then how can one distinguish Krishna's individuality? So Krishna is only saying that, okay, his individuality in the past and also in the future is there. He says that I was individual, I am individual, and I will be individual. And if Krishna is an ordinary conditioned soul, then who's born of four defects, then Bhagavad Gita will lose all its importance or its value. So that's why the human beings are subjected to the four defects. Krishna is not subjected to four defects. For the four defects we have seen in Sri Ishopanishad, that to be illusioned and cheaters and cheated and imperfect senses, and we are so Mayavadis will again argue that okay, there is plurality mentioned in this verse, and this because there is there is a plurality in the verse, so it is referring to the body. But if why would Lord place a conventional preposition on the body again then? So if individuality is referring to this empirical universe, then there is no need of teaching Bhagavad Gita by the Lord. So that is why only a devotee can understand the Bhagavad Gita and the concept of spiritual individuality. So only devotees will be able to fully understand that the Lord is individual and the Jivatma is individual. They do not merge into each other. Krishna has its own individuality maintained and his superior position always maintained. The Jivatmas are always subordinate to the Supreme Lord, and these Jivatmas have been created to serve the Supreme Lord. And that is why Krishna is called Rishikesha. So, where the Mayavadis are failing, that Mayavadis, this Bhagavad Gita that is there, which is full of nectar, and the Mayavadis are failing where Krishna is saying that they are just like bees licking the bottle of honey. And that is why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has also said that Mayavadi Bhashya Shunile Hoye Sarvanash. So anybody listening to Mayavad Bhashya or the teachings of this Mayavadi, then it will be completely misleading, and you will have there'll be no auspicious left for you, because there is a completely 180-degree what you say explanation of the Mayavadis opposite to the Bhagavad Gita. So they are not able to understand the Bhagavad Gita at all, because they do not have devotion. To understand Bhagavad Gita, you need some amount of devotion towards the Supreme Lord. So now this basic understanding of the difference between the individual soul and his temporary body again will keep on coming. Now these all subsequent shlokas will be actually always giving that okay, soul is permanent, body is temporary, and again it will be stressed that please focus on the soul more and not on the body. So yeah, this is a very important shloka because we have it in our shloka recitation also. Dehinosmin yatha dehe. Dehinosmin yatha dehe. Kaumaram yavanam jara. Kaumaram yavanam jara. तथा देहांतरम प्राप्तेर देहांतर प्राप्तेर धीरस्तत्र न मुह्यति. धीरस्तत्र न मुह्यति. Translation: as the embodied soul continuously passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change. So recently in the Wednesday class, we had His Grace Radha Pramod Prabhu, and he has very elaborately explained the 13th, 14th and the 15th shloka. If anybody would like to hear it again, You all can go and on the playlist it is there, and you all can go and hear that particular class on these particular three shlokas. So now, uh, Krishna is telling okay, a particular person who is a dhira, who knows how to tolerate, is not bewildered by changing bodies. So this change of body from boyhood to youth to old age, or to even another body, when you're transmigrating from one body to another, then a dhira person, who's a sober person, he's not bewildered by these changing bodies. So what is this verse proving? This verse is proving that, see, there is no cause for lamentation. Why? Because Bhishma and Drona anyways will get fresh bodies, and they will get spiritual bodies in the heavenly planets. So they're going to be elevated to a higher status, or a higher elevation is definitely guaranteed for them. So who is a dhira? A dhira is a one who knows, or who has a perfect knowledge of his constitutional position as a soul. He knows what is the super soul, and he knows what is the nature of the soul and the super soul. So, and that is why he's not disturbed by the change of this body. And that is why this dhira person is a person who does not lament when he knows that what is the nature of both the spiritual body and the material body. So everything is temporary, nothing is permanent, and that is why he does not get disturbed by these changes of body. So let's see the next shloka. So the next shloka is also a very nice shloka to recite. Matra sparshastu kaunteya, matra sparshastu kaunteya, chitosana sukha dukkhada, agama paino nityasa, tam titiksha bharata. Translation: O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and their disappearance in due course are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception as Kayan of Bharata, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. So this is also a very wonderful shloka. This is actually an eye-opening shloka for most of us, that it is telling us to tolerate the dualities of life. Like, tolerate duality means one should not abandon any of the religious duties due to some bodily inconveniences or transformations. Because if you see that all these dualities which come, happiness, distress, they are like, just, temporary. Like, you have summer season coming, summer is temporary. You have it for 2 months. At least in Pune, we have summers for only 2 months. Still, for us, summers has really not started because it's still raining over here. So summers is temporary. After summers, there'll be rainy season. After rainy, there'll be winter season. So these are non-permanent appearance and disappearances of happiness and distress. So during summers, what happens is we like to drink cool things, and that will make us happy. And during winters, we like to drink hot drinks that will keep us more happy. So all this is coming from sense perception. So then he says, matra sparshastu kaunteya. It is arising from sense objects, sparsha, sense objects. You see, you touch, you feel, you smell. This is all called sense perception. It is Sitosana sukha dukkada, Sita and Ushna. whether it is Shita or cold or Ushna or heat or Sukha Dukha, happiness and distress. Dukkada Agami Pain Anityasa. It is what Anitya. It is what temporary. Tam Titikshva Bharata. So then just learn to tolerate. Titikshva, learn to tolerate. The word Titikshva means tolerate. Learn to tolerate without being disturbed. So, what is the practical application of this shloka is that whatever prescribed duties are essential for spiritual advancement, we should do them. Like, for example, there are many inconveniences in spiritual life. So these inconveniences we need to tolerate. Sometimes in the month when we go for yatras, we don't get hot water facility. Then we have to tolerate. Or sometime during yatras, we have to walk even barefooted, or we have to have some inconveniences that we have to wake up early in the morning at 2 o'clock. Then we have to tolerate. Or sometimes there are inconveniences in spirituality. See, for us, what is the austerity? Waking up early in the morning, chanting, doing Ekadashi Vrata. For us, all these are austerity. So, when these prescribed duties, are essential for spiritual advancement and they fulfill the material desires in a regulated means. So, it will help us to gradually detach from the bodily concept of life, and it will allow us to rise to the platform of knowledge. So in the beginning stages, when you have tolerated enough, then it will help us to rise to the platform of knowledge. So Krishna is, addressing Arjuna over here is Kaunteya, and there is a word called Bharat also. Means Krishna is wanting to say that, see, you have a very great heritage. And with great heritage, then there is a greater responsibility in the matter of proper discharge of your duties also. You're a Kshatriya, you're supposed to fight. So, Kante is referring, to the blood relation also from mother's side. And Bharata means he's a descendant of King Bharat. So, he's, the blood relation even from the father's side. So, uh, how will somebody be able to tolerate then? What is the basis of tolerating dualities? Then, when you have this knowledge of illusion, we know that dualities are only arising from my sense perception. So then what I should do? Then I should aim for a higher goal. And I should focus on the path of liberation. So sometimes certain things give us happiness and they give us temporary happiness. And somewhere there is distress, but maybe that distress is a little for a longer duration. So still Krishna is telling Arjuna that you be determined in tolerating. You be determined and go ahead in your prescribed duties. If you'll be determined in tolerating, see, like, for example, what is the meaning of being determined in tolerating? Like, for example, somebody has started a business, okay? And when a particular person starts a business in the initial 1 year or 2 years, he is in the phase of establishing his business. So there will be lot many inconveniences in this path. So then he has to tolerate, because he knows ultimately that if I tolerate right now, I'll be determined to tolerate. He goes on tolerating insults of his customers, or things are not on time. He's tolerating. If he has its own, if he does not tolerate and he has this high ego problem, then the business does not work. So that is why he becomes determined in tolerating those inconveniences, or he has to go an extra mile. So because he has tolerated, then he'll get a good result. Now in spirituality, let us see. Okay, we have to tolerate many inconveniences in spirituality also. Like waking up early in the morning is only the biggest challenge for most of us. So when you are tolerating that, okay, I have to wake up, but this is for my own higher goal, that I wake up early in the morning, I chant my rounds, then I go out for book distribution. During book distribution time also, so much of inconveniences we tolerate, and we're still determined to do book distribution. Why? Because we know this is for a higher goal, to please Krishna. And when Krishna is pleased, then many of our other activities also will be, purified. So we focus more on, purifying our existence of the soul. So uh, Prabhupada is giving tolerating dualities, like uh, in the month of Magh, people have water with cold, bath with cold water, or women cooking in the month of May and June. It's so much hot, and women are just cooking in the kitchen. So that is why, Krishna is telling Arjuna, you fight as a religion. Even if it is required with relatives, you fight. And it's not like that okay, if you go in the jungle, you'll be very happy. No, renunciation also, or renounced order of life, is also, that is also full of austerities. Do not think that, okay, if I'll renounce and go in the jungle, I'll be very happy. No, that life is also full of austerity. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, who had renounced his wife and mother, so it is a very difficult situation when you're renouncing. So Krishna is telling Arjuna that do not renounce. Renunciation also has its own challenges, and renunciation also, it's not like that renunciation karne ke baad you will be very, what you say, happy and shirking away from the duties. You'll be very happy. So that's what Krishna is actually telling Arjuna over here. Let's go to the next shloka. So this is also one very nice shloka. Yam hi na vyavasthanti ete. Yam hi na vyathyantha vyathyanthyete. Purusham purusharbha. Sama dukkha sukham dhiram. So amritattvaya kalpate. The translation: O best among men, the person who is not disturbed by happiness and distress and is steady in both is certainly eligible for liberation. This is what I had said previously also. That one who is tolerating, then he is eligible for liberation also. So Krishna is telling that, okay, if you're steady in his determination for the advancement of spiritual realization, then you will be, able to tolerate the onslaughts of happiness and distress. And when you're able to tolerate, then you're eligible to go, you're eligible for liberation. And that's how you will be able to go back home, back to Godhead also. Okay, this my video is off. Okay. So you will be able to go back home, back to Godhead also. So there is an eligibility for liberation from material bondage. That is, you have to be steady in your prescribed duties. So we focus on a higher goal of liberation, and simultaneously we overcome these dualities of happiness and distress. So Krishna in this particular shloka is mentioning for the first time a spiritual goal, and that spiritual goal is liberation. And how to achieve the spiritual goal? Then by performing our prescribed duties or karma. So we have to obtain knowledge or gyan, which is a prerequisite for liberation. If we do not have knowledge, then liberation will be little difficult for us. Okay, so that is why he's saying that, okay, if you have a higher goal, if you want to be determined for advancing in spiritual life or spiritual realization, then uh, please tolerate these onslaughts of happiness and distress, because many times people go into depression when there is a distress, and sometimes they're not able to handle it. properly. So then Krishna is telling them that whenever a distress comes, you take it as mercy of Krishna. And whenever you have a distress, then that particular person becomes, it is his rightful heir to, get liberation. So there is one shloka which I want to show you all. Just give me 1 minute, okay? I think I have discussed this previously also. I don't know which class did I discuss, but I have discussed this. Maybe in the Hindi class I must have discussed. This is the shloka. तत्तेऽनुकम्पा सुसमीक्ष्यमानो भुञ्जान एवात्मकृतं विपाकं हृद्भागवपूभिर्विदधान् नमस्ते जीवेत यो मुक्तिपदे सदया भक्. My dear Lord, one who earnestly waits for you to bestow your causeless mercy upon you, while while patiently suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds, patiently suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds and offering you respectful obeisances with his heart, words and body. He is offering obeisances with heart, words and body, even during those difficult times, is surely eligible for liberation, for it has become his rightful claim. So, Srila Swami explains this commentary. So, this is one of my favorite shlokas. He's explaining in this commentary that just as a legitimate son has to simply remain alive to gain an inheritance from his father, who simply remains alive in Krishna consciousness. So over here is what we have to remain simply alive in Krishna consciousness, which means what? Not to give up Krishna consciousness. Many times devotees, what happen? They are not able to tolerate, because after they come into Krishna consciousness, there are a lot many turmoils in their life. So they are so bewildered, they are not able to digest only those turmoils. But they do not know that Krishna, who is the supreme, person or super soul in their heart, he is trying to clear away those bad karmas. And in the process of clearing those bad karmas, there will be some inconveniences to that particular soul. But that soul is thinking that before I came to Krishna consciousness, I was very happy. And after coming to Krishna consciousness, there are only turmoils in my life. But, dear devotees, even in Vrindavan, before Krishna was born, Vrindavan was very cool and calm. Vrindavan was very silent. There were no turmoils in Vrindavan at all. Vrajvasis were living very peacefully. But the moment Krishna was born, then there is attack from Putana, Agasur, Bakasur, Trinavarta, and so many other demons that was there. And there was so much of turmoil. So we should not think that why with me only so many turmoils are there. But see, we don't see that these all reactions are because of my past misdeeds, and I need to patiently suffer the reactions of my own past misdeeds. In my past birth, I do not know how many people I must have killed, how many animals I must have killed, and what not I must have done. Do we know anything? No, we don't know. So what we do, we are patiently suffering the reactions of our past misdeeds. And all the time we say that, oh Krishna, I have got this particular difficulty because of my own past misdeed. And still, I accept it and I offer you respectful obeisances in my heart. I offer you respectful obeisances with my words, and I offer you respectful obeisances with my own body. Then I'm bowing down my head to the Supreme Lord. Now, such a person is surely eligible for liberation, and that is his rightful claim. He is inheriting it from his, Father. So this word Susakshmina is indicating that devotee is earnestly waiting for the mercy of the Supreme Lord, even while suffering the painful effects of previous sinful reactions. So the Lord explains in the Bhagavad Gita that a devotee who surrenders unto him is no longer liable to suffer the reactions of his previous karma. However, because in his mind a devotee may still maintain the remnants of his previous sinful mentality. Mentality, they are saying, okay? Sinful reactions are burnt the moment we start chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. But there will be traces of that sinful mentality. Say, for example, how will that mentality be there? Just give me 1 minute, okay? I'll just drink a little water and tell you all. There is a conditioning that every soul has. And that conditioning is very difficult to remove. And that is called the sinful mentality, because that impression is there still in the consciousness of that person. So then what does Krishna do? That, for example, somebody had a tendency of stealing in his past birth. So that mentality of stealing will be there in this birth also. So, and that is still there in his mind. Okay, so now that mind has to be purified. And that is why, Krishna will still keep on, the Lord removes the last vestiges of enjoying spirit by giving his devotee punishments that sometimes resemble sinful reactions. Sometimes resemble sinful reactions. And that is why devotees, they will definitely say that, okay, I'm suffering for my own past middeeds. So Krishna says the purpose of the entire creation of God is to rectify the living entities' tendency to enjoy without the Lord. Currently, most of the living entities are enjoying without the Lord. And therefore, this particular punishment is given for a sinful activity specially designed to curtail the mentality that produced the activity. So, this punishment is given for that sinful activity, especially designed to curtail the mentality that produced that particular activity. So, for example, somebody has this mentality of stealing. So then what will Krishna do? He'll give a punishment so that in future he will not do, and he will realize that, okay, I don't have to do this. So though a devotee is surrendered to Lord's devotional service, until he is completely perfect in Krishna consciousness, he may maintain a slight inclination. So how to become perfect in Krishna consciousness? We should know what the Lord desires, firstly, by reading the Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. And then even if he has a slight inclination to enjoy the false happiness of this world, then what will the Lord? The Lord creates this particular situation to eradicate this remaining enjoying spirit. So he will give you little dukh. He'll give you little distress. Why? Because you want to enjoy, okay, take little distress. You want to enjoy, take little distress, so that you become completely purified of that enjoying mentality. The problem with the soul is of enjoying mentality. So then we become purified of that enjoying mentality. And this unhappiness suffered by sincere devotee is not technically a karmic reaction. So whatever distress we are getting, not because of karmas, but it is the Lord's special mercy for inducing his devotee to completely let go of the material world and return back to Godhead. It's like a slap a mother gives to the child because he wants to eat an ice cream, which is not good for his health, bodily health. So Krishna also gives us a slap because it is not good for my spiritual health. So that is why a sincere devotee earnestly desires to go back to the Lord's abode. And he will not go into that enjoying mentality or enjoying spirit. So see, if I want to enjoy and if I don't get that, then what I do? I adopt wrong means to enjoy or satisfy my senses. So That is why that mentality has to be shunned down. Therefore, this devotee, he willingly accepts the Lord's merciful punishment and continues offering respects and obeisance to the Lord with his heart, with his heart, body, words, and body. Now this statement Krishna is saying this, Prabhupada is saying this, such a bona fide servant, considering all hardships, a small price to pay for gaining the personal association, certainly becomes a legitimate son of God as indicated by the word Daya Bhag. Now, if you see Daya Bhag over here, the word is the rightful heir. He becomes the rightful heir. Okay. So, a father, why will he give all his property to his son? Because the son has always been tolerant enough. The son has been always cooperative. The son has never retaliated. The son has never become, dabangi or bagi, for retaliating again and again. So that is why this particular person becomes the rightful heir. Okay. So just as one cannot approach the sun without becoming fire, one cannot approach the Supreme Lord without undergoing a rigid purificatory process, which may appear like suffering, but which is in fact a curative treatment administered by the personal hand of the Lord. Such a beautiful statement. If you see this whole purport, every word is a golden word over here. Every word is a golden word over here. So this is in short, about the 15th shloka. So he becomes, rightful for liberation. Yeah, Sucharita, very beautiful purport. There are some purports in the 10th canto which are very beautiful. Currently, I'm learning the 10th canto only from His Grace Radhesham Prabhu. And we are very fortunate that Prabhuji is personally teaching us that whole of 10th canto. So then in the 15th shloka, now, he's saying that tolerate for a higher goal. And the first example he's giving is that of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also renounced his wife and mother at an early age for what? For the preaching mission, because he had come for establishing the Sankirtan movement. So he also sacrificed. So sannyas is very painstaking situation, but anyone who is serious, he will surely adopt this order in spite of many difficulties. These difficulties will arise from having to even cut off all the family relations also, the sannyas life. And second example he gives of, Arjuna is also advised to preserve his duties even at the cost of family members. So, for a higher purpose, you renounce, and for a higher purpose, you even do your prescribed duties also. So, both the ways it works. So, that is why in the next shloka, if you see, there is a vision by those who view this world based on scriptures. And just a minute. So there are actually 4 points that those who view this world based on Krishna, who are those people? And how does it help? So this clear vision, when you have a clear vision of the body and the soul and my connection with the Supreme Lord and all, this clear vision will help one to avoid lamentation on a bodily platform. See, that does not mean that when the relatives of family members, they die, we don't cry. We do cry that we have lost a particular person's good qualities, or this particular person was an inspiration to me, and now I won't get that inspiration. That is the lamentation. The lamentation is of the good qualities that person has exhibited in that particular lifetime. So this vision that is there will help us to avoid lamentation on bodily platform. So Why? Because there is no death for the soul and no endurance for the body. So Kauravas cannot escape death even if Arjuna does not kill them. There will be death for them. Okay, so, and the second thing is that one can see that sin is involved even in such violences. So, for example, a particular, a country who's there, it has borders. So there is, from from the border, there is attack from the other countries also. So the soldiers who are there on that border, they have to fight. They cannot say that, oh, these people are also soul and they also have family members, and if I kill this particular person, what will their family members eat, drink, and all that. So, violence will be involved, but that violence is for a higher cause. The battle of Kurukshetra was done under Krishna's direction and with the knowledge of the body and soul. So in such a violence where the Supreme Lord has directly directed, then there is no, sin in God. And this change of body also is compared to this change of dresses, and no weapon can harm or kill that particular soul. So, so this verse, gives, these verses that are there, these verses are giving that, okay, how to see the truth in reality. So if you see the 16th shloka, नास्तो विद्यते न भावो विद्यते सता उभयोरपि दृष्टो अनन्तस् त्वम् अनन्योस्तत्त्वदर्शिभिः. Those who are seers of the truth have concluded that of the non-existence there is no endurance, and of the eternal soul there is no change. This they have concluded by studying the nature of both. Give me just 1 minute, okay? Dear devotees, just give. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, I am very sorry. I'm having all of a sudden guest at my place, so I don't know what to do. And their devotees, they just reached on in the house. So I think we'll just stop over here, and we will continue on next Saturday. I just beg apologies for the sudden this, because I think we need to even attend the guest. I beg apologies because this is completely unscheduled. So please beg, apologies. And they are senior devotees, so I need to attend them. So we just hold the class over here. Any question answers, we will just follow it on the next Saturday, Sunday. Maybe I'll take a little extra time on next Saturday. Okay. So thank you so much, dear devotees. Sorry for the inconvenience caused. Hare Krishna.